I want to bring to your attention a very, very unique situation that's unique to this nation, and that all rhymed. Lisa D and I were just doing our thing, having a little fling, you know what I'm saying? And we was out at Jollibee, and we were having a nice time, you know, just enjoying our little luncheon. It's a couple of days ago. And as we were about to finish our meal, a woman came in the Jollibee, right? And this one was about maybe 50, 45, 50 years old, I would estimate. She was a mature woman, right? And she brings a little puppy. She had him wrapped in a blanket. I don't know if she hid it from the guard, because the guard, when you come in Jollibee, you have to go through a guard. They check and make sure you're straight before you get in there. So apparently, either she knew the guard or the guard didn't care. I don't know which one it was. Or the guard didn't see the puppy. Anyway, actually, as a general rule, animals are not allowed in the eating area. Okay, that's just basic common sense. All right, yeah. You don't bring animals in the eating area. Okay, that's just basic common sense. You don't mix animals and humans when it's time to eat. It makes sense. But anyway, so next thing we know, the lady, she gets up, right? She gets up and she goes to about four different tables. And as she goes to the tables, guys, guess what she does? Everyone that had chicken, she would take before the people would even get up out the seat, leave the table, she would grab the chicken off the plate. I was like, what's wrong with that woman? And she said, excuse me. And she would grab, because they were almost through. I guess she figured they were through. She would grab the chicken off the table and she would bring it back to the puppy. And she was at a booth. She had a boy with her, I guess her son or something. They went at a booth and put the puppy on the table. On the table? Like Mabel? On the table like Mabel. And they fed the puppy on the table with the bones. Can you believe that, man? This is a public establishment. This is a public eating place. This is a public restaurant. And they're governed by sanitary rules, okay? So I was just outraged. I really was, And normally I chill when stuff like that happens, because I'm in somebody else's country. You got to do as the Romans do. But I wasn't doing as the Romans. That got on my last nerve, man. I'm really serious. That got on my last nerve. And I said, nah, I'm not playing this game with this lady today. Because it was like right next to us, almost next to one seat over from us. So I got up. I went to the manager. I said, man, to the manager, please. I went to the front, to the counter area. I said, is the manager, you have a manager or supervisor on duty, ma'am? Yes. I said, may I see him, please? So he comes out. He said, what's the problem, sir? I said, the problem is you have someone feeding a dog in your restaurant in front of paying customers. And she hadn't paid for a meal. The lady never bought a meal. She just sat down and started picking food off, chicken bones off of people's plates. I kid you not, man. I kid you not. She started picking bones off of people's plates. Okay, chicken bones. I cannot make this stuff up, man. I kid you not. I cannot make this stuff up. She started She started picking chicken bones off of people's plates. And she takes the chicken bones and she takes it over to the little puppy on the table and feeds him. Okay. So I said, sir, look right over there. You see what that lady's doing? He said, I don't see anything. Because I guess his view is obscured or something. I don't know. He said, so I said, well, I'm going to go back to my seat. When I go back to my seat, I will point to the direction what's going on. You'll see. So I go back to my seat. I point. And then he sees what's happening. Then I go back to the counter and say, you can see it now? He said, yeah, she's feeding a puppy on the table. I said, yeah. Do you think that's right, sir? He said, no, that's against the rules. I said, sir, I normally wouldn't complain, but this is highly aggravating to me. I pay good money to eat in your establishment, and you can serve good food. It's clean. And it's a clean place. I always tell my wife, we like coming here because it's clean. And I like to eat in clean places. And so I appreciate it, but sir, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to have to report you to the sanitation department, because you have a public permit for sanitary approval for the sanitation department. He said, sir, no, I don't want that, sir. I said, okay, then you need to do something, sir. I don't want to pressure you, but it's not right. And other people, it was just not me, guys. If you know about Filipinos, they don't say a lot, okay? Other people were watching it and they were shocked, and I could tell there was sort of anger in amazement on other people's face. But the Filipinos are quiet. They won't say nothing. Even though they don't like it, they just sit there and put up with it. Everybody like, we want it all. You know what I'm saying? And so the guy comes, the supervisor goes and gets the guard, security guard. I couldn't tell him what he was saying because I went back to my seat. He did one of these. You know, that means you got to get that lady out of here. So the lady saw me. The lady got mad with me. She must have knew I was telling the supervisor something. She gets up, man, and she comes to my table. I said, I looked up. First, next thing I know, she was staring down right at me. I said, I didn't say nothing because I don't know what she was up to. I didn't know if she wanted to cut me. I didn't know if she wanted to spit on me. I didn't know what. I had no clue. I was watching her every move because I was ready, like Freddy. You know, I was ready to throw down and go down with her. But she says, and she spoke pretty good English. She said, is he bothering you? I said, what do you mean, ma'am? And she said, is my dog bothering you? I said, ma'am, your dog is a dog. He's not a human being. You don't feed dogs in the public restaurants. You feed them outside. I said, furthermore, you had them on the table, like Mabel. I said, that's a kid right there. I said, you have them on the table. I said, how unsanitary is that? Do you know people have to eat off that table after you're done? I said, you're not. I said, ma'am, you're a mature woman. You're old enough to know better. I said, I don't care what country you're in. Having a dog, an animal, eating in a public restaurant in front of other people that are paid patrons to eat there, off the table, in front of others, is totally wrong. It's misguided. And it's not tolerated. And then I stopped talking to her. The next thing I know, the supervisor came back with the security guard, and they escorted her out. They said, ma'am, you have to get up, get up. And then the supervisor asked the guard why he didn't see that. He said, I didn't see it, sir. I didn't see it, sir. He was trying to protect his job. But that's just a little story time for you guys. This is just a sampling of some of the things, weird stuff, I guess you would characterize it, that you will see when you're in the Philippines, out and about doing your thing. And we were just minding our business, doing our thing. You know, that's what we do. We go to Jollibee every occasion when we're in town, and we sit down. We have a nice little, lunch, whatever we're doing. We take a break. We like Jollibee, and we don't eat a lot out there. I normally get some water, and I'll get a little. Sometimes I'll get a little crunchy chicken sandwich. That's it. That's all I get. I used to get a lot of stuff back in the day when I eat much junk, bunch of stuff, but that's all I get. And at least he gets a little chicken, a little rice. We just had a nice lunch. But I don't know. Can you tell me, guys, was I right? What's up, SML? SML2. What's up? Hey, man, we having a great day. Hope you are as well. And can you tell me, guys, let me know in the comments if you don't mind, please. Was I right or was I wrong? I don't think I was wrong. Because if loving you is right, I don't want to be wrong. And loving me is right, I don't want to be wrong. I can't be wrong. And I love myself enough not to want to eat with dogs. I love myself enough not to want to eat with puppies on a table in a public restaurant. It just doesn't make sense to me. And maybe I'm just being stubborn. Maybe I'm just being mean. I don't know. I have a tendency to do that sometimes. But I don't think so in this particular instance. I paid good money, man. Me and my wife sat down and paid good money to eat at a public establishment, restaurant, commercial establishment. They offer good food. We paid for good food to eat. And we did not come in here with the idea that we have to sit next to dogs eating off tables. That just bothered me to no end. And so when I got outraged, and so I have to watch myself sometimes, because you got to be careful. Sometimes you can get, when you say stuff to people, they get off the handle sometimes, especially if you're a foreigner and they don't like foreigners. But what really got me was when the lady got up from her table and stood over me. I was like, whoa, what's going on? I was like, uh-oh. All my antennas like, choo, 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 shot up. I was like, man, what's going on with this lady? She looked a little shady, you know what I'm saying? But, it all worked out. It all worked out. I stood my ground. I handled the situation. And, when you're in a foreign country, there are some things you have to compromise with, okay? because you're not in your land, you're not in your country, you're not in your zone, you're out of your environment, so to speak. But when it comes to sanitation, health reasons, being clean and cleanly, eating in an establishment, I draw the line with that. I'm not compromising with that. My health, safety, and safety of others. I just don't do that. Okay. I don't care where I am at. I will say something, and I will say it. I did. I think I handled it. I think I handled it okay. I wasn't mean. I wasn't angry. I was very polite, but I was insistent that something needed to be done, and something needed to be done. As much the sad thing is, people in America will say they are a service animal, and you can't complain. Yeah, that was no service animal. That was a puppy she probably found on the street. It was just a little puppy on the street, and she had it wrapped up in a little blanket. If it's a service animal, you still don't feed service animals on the table like Mabel. You don't do that. You don't do that, man. You feed them outside the gate, outside the room, outside of the establishment. Now I can see maybe you give them a little, if they're on the ground, maybe give them a piece of bone or service animal. But that was not a service animal. That was a little puppy. And she didn't even buy any food and nothing in there. She was trying to be cheap and trying to feed her puppy on the slide, at other people's expense. So I was very outraged by that. And, I respect service animals. People have a right to have them. They have a right to be in establishments if they are true, identifiable, legitimate service animals. Okay, I understand that. You need for the blind and helpful, for immobile people. Yeah, you need service animals. It's okay. But that was not a service animal. And there's no stretch of the imagination could she say, well, that's my service animal. He's just a little puppy. No, you can't. If you'd have seen the dog, you would have said, nah, there ain't no service animal. Okay? And he was eating off the table like no tomorrow, like there was no tomorrow. So I got a little perturbed about it, but I handled the situation in a very respectful and a very, I think, calm manner. I didn't curse her out. She didn't curse me out. And I thought she was going to throw down on me for a minute, but she didn't go there. So we were still good. We were still cool. So, but that's what's happening, man. I wanted to bring that story time to you. Where you going with that pot? Hey, where you going with that pot? Yes. What is that? Huh? Okay. It's my nephew over there. Rice? Bugas? Yes. Okay. That's my nephew over there. He brought a pot over here. I don't know what his problem was. Where you going with that pot? Pot of rice he brought over here. I guess his mama wanted to cook some rice, eat, whatever. But yeah, I just want to touch base with the people, let y'all know what's going on with me in this. We out here chilling in the province, doing our thing, relaxing. It's a very, very laid back lifestyle here. Nothing like the United States. I was in the States for 4 months. Getting back here, it's like night and day, man. Here, I can get up when I want to, sleep when I want to, stay as long as late, stay up as late as I want to, all kinds of stuff, And nobody bother you, nobody don't mess with you. Everything is just do what you want to do, respect others, enjoy your life. That's it. Not like in the USA where everything is rush. You're on the schedule to do this, schedule to do that, schedule to do that. Yeah. Anyway, but for those of you that don't know, there is a Typhoon Nando that's wreaking havoc right now as we speak in the Luzon area. Okay, and many people are being devastated by the typhoon. We are in the Visayas right now in Cebu. Right now, there's no sign of rain. There's no sign of anything. The only thing that we have right now is a lot of wind. It's very, very windy day. I'm thinking that's an aftermath or side effect of the typhoon that's in Luzon. It bypassed Visayas and then it hit Luzon, and it's causing flooding, everything. And guys, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but there's a huge problem in the Philippines regarding flooding. Every time it rains, especially if you live in the Luzon, Manila, metropolitan Manila area, or National Capital Region, NCR, Every time it rains, it floods, okay? And people are waist deep or sometimes neck deep in water trying to walk around. That's why I don't like going to Manila. So pray for those people out there and that they may be safe. In addition to that, there's another issue regarding flooding in the Philippines, and that is they have commissioned multiple flood projects to correct the flooding damage in the flooding zones in that city area and all throughout the Philippines. And it comes to find out, they spent millions and billions on flood control projects, and most of the projects that they spent the money on were never done. I kid you not, man. They were never done, okay? And so now there was a riot yesterday, or a protest rather, yesterday in the Manila area, and it turned into a riot. People started, because they were angry that their money was spent and not getting the flood projects done, okay? Many of the flood projects were never done. They were paid to be done. The contractors got the money, but never did one thing. Then some of the projects were done, but they were done incorrectly or sloppily. And then some of the projects were started but never completed. So people are outraged, and they had a huge protest on yesterday. Over 100 people were arrested. Okay, I kid you not. Over 100 people were arrested, and this is a very serious thing. People are very outraged and angry about their tax dollars being spent and given to wealthy contractors. And come to find out that the contractors that were supposedly paid to do the jobs, most of them are very wealthy, and they have one of the contractors had like 28, 21 luxury cars. When I say luxury cars, Lamborghini, you name it, any kind of luxury car you can think of, they had Rolls Royce, 28 of them imported from the U.S. Okay, so they're having hearings right now. The next hearing, they had one on Friday. The next one will be tomorrow. So if you get a chance, talk to your people in the Philippines about it. They'll tell you about it. If you tune into the United States Senate hearings, or not, excuse me, say United States, tune into the Philippine Senate hearing on flood control, and you can see all the nitty gritty and the details that's going on. But it's not good. But things happen everywhere, and you have to pray for the people and pray for better government, and trust the government to do right by the people in this country. All right, guys, that's it for now. I just want to touch base with you, let you know where we are and what we're doing and what we're about. This is BobbieD saying take care. Oh man, these flies. I gotta get inside now. Get on my nerve. Take care. God bless. Peace. See you on the backside of tomorrow.